listeners, and welcome to a new episode of Never Seen It. This is a podcast about movies that we haven't seen yet. My name is Betsy. I'm your host, and I'm here with Trent.
Welcome to Oscar Sunday.
Of course, it's Oscar Sunday, so we are doing the obvious thing, and we're watching Cocaine Bear.
What other movie could we possibly watch today of all days, Betsy?
That's right. We are on week number 3 of Animals Attacking. It happens to be Oscar Sunday, but we have moved on. We're not talking about the glitz and glamour of the Oscars season. It's going to be airing later today as of when this episode comes out. But no, we're not doing that. We finished our episode for Oscars 3 weeks ago. It's been quite a while. We finished really early this year.
I'm very much moved on from any kind of Oscar talk, except for the emails that we're going to read in this episode. We're going to try to clean those up so that we can move on from the Oscars. But yeah, Cocaine Bear. We're watching that. There is a world in which we would never actually cover Cocaine Bear on this show for a number of reasons. Number one, it's probably going to be terrible. And number two, it's a comedy and we don't really cover a whole lot of comedies. But because of what the series is and because we couldn't think of a 5th movie to cover in When Animals Attack, here you go.
I disagree. I think we could have come up with many movies that we could have watched instead. But how do you not include a movie called Cocaine Bear when you're doing When Animals Attack?
Yeah, you're right. But I also think a lot of the other ones are just going to be repeats of fucking Sharks and other things that we're going to be covering later. But I get your point.
But that being said, Trent, this is a movie that came out in 2023, so this is when we had a podcast already.
Yep.
And we talked about going to see it at that time, and then we just couldn't work it in, and we have not gotten around to watching it. So it's been a few years. What do you remember? What do you know about Cocaine Bear?
This is based on a true story.
I do recall that being a thing.
Yeah, this is a movie that was actually directed by Elizabeth Banks, who is very much getting into the writing and producing of movies rather than actually being on screen.
And in this case, it's her directorial debut.
That's right. I think a lot of people around our age, like Elizabeth Banks is only like 10 years older than us. A lot of people from the Gen X and elder millennial class of actors are really trying to get into the production game and directing game, just being behind the camera. Like, look at what Seth Rogen has been doing lately. Frankly, everybody from the cast and crew from the 40-year-old version, for fuck's sake, but that's a separate conversation. But outside of Elizabeth Banks being the one who directed the movie, and the fact that it is based on a true story of something that happened in the 80s, where was it like a fucking drug trafficking plane where something fell out of a plane and crash landed into the woods somewhere and animals got into it? And this isn't necessarily about a real bear that, was getting into the cocaine and attacking people, which I assume this is what the movie's about. But maybe just a loose interpretation of what might have happened.
Right. Outside of that, I don't really remember the details. I didn't look into it that deeply when this came out. I didn't look into it deeply before we started recording.
Yeah, we haven't rewatched any kind of trailers. I just remembered Cocaine Bear is actually better than what you might think a movie called Cocaine Bear is. And like, as far as who I know is in the movie, I know one person and he's got like a bit part. He's a guy who got famous on TikTok/Instagram. His name is Scott Seiss. He's a stand-up comedian, and he got famous for doing these like head-on reactions to what happens in somebody's workplace. Like, hey, we're all a family. And then the dramatic music comes in and he says, what kind of family does this to their people? Things like that. From what I understand at the time, Elizabeth Banks knew about him, knew about his shtick, and wanted to put him in the movie. He's not doing anything related to that. He's just a funny guy. But outside of him, I know nobody else in this fucking movie.
The only other person I readily remember being in this is Ray Liotta, because this came out soon after he died, and it was one of, if not the last movie he had.
Yeah, I vaguely remember Ray Liotta being associated with this, but only because this was his last movie. But yeah, Betsy, I really don't know anything else about Cocaine Bear, but I guess we're about to find out.
I think based on the title, we can make an educated guess,
Yeah.
But let's go find out for sure. We're going to go watch Cocaine Bear, and we will be right back. And we're back. You know, Trent, sometimes you watch a trailer for a movie, and then you watch the movie, and it's nothing like the trailer. That, I would argue, is not the case with Cocaine Bear. What did you think of this movie?
So you call a movie Cocaine Bear, and you immediately have it in your mind, oh, okay, I kind of have a feeling of what I'm going to experience here, but maybe it's going to be lesser, maybe it's going to be more, I don't really know. But I'm here to tell everybody that Cocaine Bear could not have been called anything but Cocaine Bear. And I say that because one of the little facts that I read about this movie in the trivia is that Cocaine Bear, the title, was just supposed to be a placeholder. It was never supposed to be called Cocaine Bear, but when they started to workshop ideas as to what to call the movie, they could not come up with anything better than Cocaine Bear. Which kind of goes to show you sometimes your first idea is your best. But as far as the movie is concerned, it's as stupid as what you think it's going to be. It is kind of set in the 80s when this actual event happened, and I did read some more information about the actual event. But the way everything is constructed, where you have, like other movies do, you have disparate groups of people coming together in order to do a thing. Well, in this case, they're all kind of coming together for similar but different reasons, just to get them out in the woods to be attacked by this fucking bear. Is there anything unique about that? Not really. And I will say the movie itself kind of reeks of first-time filmmaker syndrome, where you kind of want to do all of the shots, you kind of want to do all of the angles because you have these cameras, you have all these talented people behind you, and Elizabeth Banks is doing exactly that.
But you're not really definitively answering the question. Did you like all of this, or did you have problems with this?
I am very mixed on this because the first half hour of this hour and a half movie is very boring. I don't really care about any of these characters. They don't give them any kind of arc. Not that you really need an arc in a Cocaine Bear type movie, but I want something here. I want some kind of, I don't know, something to grasp onto as, oh, this thing is going to happen, or I want this guy to die, or anything under the sun. Really what I'm here for is the bloody gore and the ridiculous things that this bear is doing while high on cocaine. It just takes way too long to get to the good parts.
I feel like you were really forgetting that the movie is called Cocaine Bear, because I just had an expectation that this was going to be ridiculous. And from the moment it starts to the moment it's over, it is ridiculous. And I enjoyed the hell out of it.
Okay, the very beginning of the guy strapping the cocaine to his body and having himself a grand old time doing karate in an airplane, that was entertaining.
Matthew Rhys is in the movie for 45 seconds, knocks himself out, and falls to his death.
Yeah, that's really funny. But in the interim, it's after fucking what's-his-name from Game of Thrones is thrown into this movie for some reason. It's when we're meeting everybody else. Yes, we have a good introduction with the plane thing and the guy from Game of Thrones. I don't know his fucking name. Tormund is the character name in Game of Thrones. But we're introducing all of these things, and there's Ray Liotta as this drug kingpin, and you have O'Shea Jackson Jr. as a stereotypical drug dealer, and then what's his fucking name? I can never ever remember it.
Alden Ehrenreich.
That is a terrible name. I'm sorry, buddy.
He does not have a movie star kind of name.
He really doesn't. We've only ever covered one thing with him in it, and it
Two
was
things, because we did the solo movie.
The solo movie.
He's also
What's the
in
other one?
Oppenheimer.
He is an Oppenheimer. I forgot about that. Anyway, he has a terrible name, and he's kind of nothing in the movie. But again, we're introducing all of these characters for no fucking reason. I just want to have the bear be funny in front of me. I don't know. I was really disappointed with the run up to the actual fun of the movie, but then the rest of it was really funny. I liked it.
Trent, the opening scene is the guy from Game of Thrones and his fiance being attacked, and her limbs go flying, and there's a splatter of blood as the cocaine bear screams, and we see the title card Cocaine Bear. If you are not on board within the first 30 seconds with this happening,
I wanted it to not ever stop.
I thought it was just the right amount. I'm going to be honest. I think I enjoyed this movie way more than you, simply by the nature that I let it go. I just got on board. I knew what Cocaine Bear is going to be about.
Of course. I didn't have huge expectations for a movie like this, a movie called Cocaine Bear. I don't know how many times we're going to say the word cocaine bear in this episode.
We're going to get all of this deleted because people think we're doing drugs.
We already had something deleted on our Instagram page a couple of weeks ago about something we posted about Sicario. And we're not even really talking about real drugs there. We're just talking about the movie.
We're talking around it.
It's about the movie. The movie's about drugs. This movie is really about drugs. So cocaine. Oh my God. But, we're doing this Animals Attack series for the month of March, and of course, the vast majority of the movies we're covering are fucking ridiculous. And I know I shouldn't take things super seriously, but I thought Elizabeth Banks here was really going to have a gem on her hands and really show me what she can do when it comes to directing a stupid-ass movie, because I feel like the stuff that she has produced is really, really good. But I go back to what I said before about it's kind of like her having like brand new toys. Like, I want to be able to do all of the shots while, following Kerry Russell into the forest. You have all these overhead shots. There's no reason for all this to be there other than maybe padding the movie because it is only an hour and a half. Maybe that's what it is. You only had enough real content here for about an hour of the movie. So she just padded it with a bunch of other stuff at the beginning. I don't know. I'm complaining a whole lot. Betsy, where are you coming from here? Because clearly I need to stop talking.
I am going to kind of disagree with everything you're saying. I think for somebody who is a first-time director, I liked what she was doing. It didn't look like a shitty little movie. There are a lot of comedies. Comedy is hard, Trent. I think she, more than anybody, knows that doing comedy, making a comedic movie is not easy. And in this age where we get so much crap sent out into the universe that just looks like shit, I didn't think this looked like shit. I thought she actually was really good at doing one specific thing that I wasn't expecting of this movie. Yes, this is a comedy, but it is in ways a horror comedy because she has to build tension before every single bear attack. And I thought the way she was doing that was really good, and I didn't expect that from a movie called Cocaine Bear. I'm just going to put the emphasis on different words if we're going to keep saying it. So there are times in the movie, I know there's about to be an attack. You're just trying to figure out which direction it's coming from. But I had a few jump scares. I had a few moments where I was sort of holding my breath, waiting for the thing to happen.
Of course, that's kind of what happens in movies like this.
But those things take a little bit of skill. You or I making this movie are not going to have the same level of skill as she does, because even though she's a first-time director, she's been in 20 years worth of movies to have experienced what being directed is.
Now, don't get me wrong here. I'm not saying that she did a poor job at the things that you like and I like. What I'm saying is the stuff that isn't quote unquote the cocaine bear parts of the movie, that's the stuff that I didn't like. The real bonkers shit I really enjoyed.
But that's the stuff that's not the point of the movie.
Of course.
So what does it matter? What does it matter what these people were before this and what happens to them?
I wanted this to be a completely absurdist kind of a movie where nothing is taken seriously. Why? I mean, Kerry Russell, of all people, is in this movie, okay? I did not know that going in. Kerry Russell is a good actress, okay? She's probably even won awards for acting.
She won a SAG or an actor award last week or 2 weeks ago, however long ago that was.
Whatever. I can't take her seriously as being, a very worried mother in a movie called Cocaine Bear. Why not amp up her character more, have it be more absurd? Because, hey, look, guys, it's Kerry Russell in a Cocaine Bear movie.
I think you just wanted this to be more like Sharknado, where they
I wanted it to be completely fucking absurd.
The utter absurdity of that concept. And this is sort of in that family of movies where we wrote down a really funny word and we made a movie around it. So I get why you want it to be that, But it's the fact that you can't accept it for what it is, Trent.
I don't think that you're really accepting what I'm saying here, as I did like the Cocaine Bear-ness of it. I just wanted there to be more. When we finally got there and it was just popping off at all times, I was having a great time. But there just needed to be more. With a movie called Cocaine Bear, I expected there to be more cocaine, more bear, and honestly, the best thing in this movie are the two kids. I laughed more at the two kids than anybody else in this fucking movie.
Playing hooky from school, and they end up doing cocaine and being attacked by a bear.
Accidentally.
Accidentally.
When they take the knife and put it into the goddamn brick and they eat it.
Just trying to prove to the other, no, I'm smarter. I have street smarts. I do cocaine all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you just eat it. About a tablespoon.
Yeah,
that's how
about
you
a
do
tablespoon.
cocaine.
Sure. How do you do it? You eat it, clearly. Because at no other time would you think you need to, like, smoke it, because you can't smoke a powder. Kids don't really think about, snorting stuff or injecting things or anything under the sun. All they know is eating and drinking.
I like that in this sequence, they kind of remind you that this is the 1980s. This is Nancy Reagan's war on drugs. They start the movie with a whole bunch of anti-drug propaganda.
Pee Wee Herman is in this movie.
And so we're reminded when we're setting this up, this is a time in America where everybody is very, very anti-drug. So even though these two kids have never actually seen drugs, they have had school assemblies from various people telling them, don't do drugs. These are the things you might see.
Yeah, and that one cop says, hey guys, this is the Reagan 1980s, and the drug minimum sentences out there are through the roof. You're going to get 10 to 15 years just for having it on you.
Just for holding it. I see you holding it.
Yeah. But again, that goes back to what I was saying before. I wanted them to lean harder into the absurdity of the war on drugs and drug culture. Even these three, I don't even know what the hell you call them. These three friends who are hanging around beating people up in bathrooms, or at least trying to.
Skateboard punks or whatever they are.
Skate fucks, sure. Why not lean more into that and have them be all drugged up? I don't fucking know. And I know it sounds like I'm really complaining about the movie. I still did have a good time. I just wanted it to be like a new classic for us. Like I could just throw this on at any time and have a laugh.
Well, maybe now that you've seen it, later on you'll find it will be. But for now, I'm going to stop your complaining so we can take a quick break. We're going to talk a lot more about Cocaine Bear, and then we will be right back. Feeling run down, lethargic, a little bloated?
Yes. Oh, God, yes.
Well, have I got the prescription for you?
Oh, no, not another pill. I take enough of those that I find in the dumpster behind the Burger King.
Oh, no. It's better than any dumpster pills. It's patreon.com/neverseenitpod.
I'm interested. Tell me more.
It's premium content from those jokers at Never Seen It. They have 4 other weekly shows, plus bonuses.
I've heard of those guys. They're like super talented and funny.
And sexy. Don't forget sexy.
Oh, then I'll definitely check them out. Thanks, disembodied voice.
Anytime. Now, Trent, as we keep saying, Elizabeth Banks was behind the production of this movie, the director of this movie. And as somebody who has spent a long time in movies, in comedy in particular, she clearly had a lot of pull getting different people to say yes to this movie. There are some very recognizable people in this. But I would argue that the MVP of the movie has to be Margot Martindale as the park ranger, simply because this is one of those ladies, when you see her on screen, you go, hey, I know her. You don't know what from, but you know her.
You don't necessarily know her name, but you know she's always gold.
And this movie is no different. What did you think of her in Cocaine Bear?
I would agree with you. She's kind of the star of the show here, even though, again, you don't really know her as a leading actress in anything. But I think this is another thing that really bothered me here, but I think she fucking nailed it. Of everybody in the movie, I feel like she embodies the 1980s more than anybody else here, because I remember my own mother working a shitty job and having to deal with dipshits all day. And I don't know, it's just something that I felt about her presence in the movie, and it's a really strange thing for me to even say a presence in Cocaine Bear. But I just feel like Elizabeth Banks is a fan of hers, and she really wanted to have her have a big role in the movie.
I feel like a lot of people in Hollywood are fans of hers. That's why
Sure.
she's been able to have this huge career, even though nobody really knows her. You don't know her name. But if you look at her credits, she has so many credits on IMDb. Her career is very long and diverse. And in this one, she gets to be a chain-smoking park ranger who's pissed off at the guys, but she's also easily swayed by, Jesse Tyler Ferguson, who is bringing her a Smokey the Bear cutout, another thing that was very big in the 90s and 80s.
Uh-huh.
She's got a gun, even though she probably isn't supposed to have that, and it goes quite badly every time she uses it. She gets attacked and she lives to tell the tale, but she is so pissed off at that bear. And she's just the rest of the movie, I'm gonna get this fucking bear. I've got it. I've got it. But I think my favorite moment with her is when she comes down the mountain and she's back there and the bear shows up at the door and she's just like, the bear is outside the door. I've got it. I've got it. She did not have it, but she was absolutely certain she was going to get that bear. And the next time we see her, when she is like on the ground and she can't say the word, I liked how they edited together her heartbeat and we could hear it speeding up.
The medic is there checking on her to check her pulse and whatnot. And as she is trying to say bear, she goes, bleh, but she can't actually vocalize it. But finally, the stethoscope is right there and she can whisper, bear. And that's where everything pops off.
And just in the back of the ambulance, like trying to get the bear as it's chasing them. And she's still down to the end, screaming at that bear. Perfect. Priceless. Loved her in this movie.
I think she maybe had the best death.
Yeah, it's really awful what happens to her, but also it just goes with the rest of the movie. She is not, in fact, one of the victims of the bear.
No.
You were looking up, the body count is only 10.
Yeah, there are 10 people who get killed total, 6 of them by the bear, 2 people by gunshot, and the other 2 by a vehicular accident.
And she is one of the vehicular accidents.
Yes.
Did you have any other favorite deaths in the movie? I loved the sequence with the ambulance, the guy you referenced at the beginning.
Yeah, Scott Seiss. The guy with his shirt open who's being very blasé about everything because they got a call about somebody with a concussion.
But he sees the bear. He discovers the bear in the back room. And then he's like, we need to go. And then he's chasing after the ambulance and hanging off the back of it screaming.
I think he did a really good job here. I've seen a couple of clips from his appearance in this movie, and I really enjoyed the entirety of it because, hey, the guy is not a trained actor. He's a comedian, for fuck's sake.
But most of those people do both things. They are both comedians and they're trying to make it as actors because it's hard to do just one usually.
Well, yeah. What I'm saying is he has a really good reaction face and him trying to fight the bear off in the back of the ambulance and him being very scared and backing up all the way to the front of the ambulance with his fucking hand hanging off of his arm. Oh, that was so bad.
I would argue that that guy knows the movie he is in.
Yeah. And really, Betsy, now that you say that, I feel like everybody kind of got the assignment down. There's really nobody here that is just phoning it in. Even Ray Liotta, who was kind of famously phoning it in his later career, he can play a drug kingpin. Why not? Kerry Russell is maybe at the bottom rung of everything because she's just playing a mom. But if she had the opportunity to really get directed to the point where she is the star of the movie, there's really no star of the movie.
No, the star's the bear.
It is totally. But if they wrote it in a way that Kerry Russell was the star, I feel like she could have done it. But Elizabeth Banks didn't want her to be that. As you said, the star of the movie is the bear, and everybody else is just in the bear's way. And in that same conversation here, normally when we talk about when animals attack these types of movies, the bad guy, quote unquote, is the animal. The bear did nothing wrong.
Trent, we have watched 3 movies in this series so far, and I would argue that none of the animals are responsible for their own actions.
Yep, you're right.
So with the shark, it got injected, it was genetically modified.
It got smart, it's trying to get
smarter,
revenge.
And it's trying to get free because sharks are not meant to be caged.
That's
okay?
right. That's right.
The birds. We don't exactly know why the birds do this, but we can make an educated guess that they're pissed off at the ecosystem getting fucked up by humans.
Sure.
And then obviously, this bear just discovered cocaine. That was man's intervention. We never would have had cocaine exposed to this animal, except it fell from the fucking sky. And now it has an addiction, and that is not the bear's fault.
And not only does Mama Bear have an addiction, but the little cubs do too.
Little cocaine bears.
Little cocaine cubs, Betsy. Get it right. But I will say here, the elephant in the room is the CGI bear. Obviously, there's no real bear on set here. What did you think of the fake bear?
The majority of the movie, the bear was convincing. I would say the only time I'm like, well, that bear's not really there is when it was laying on top of Alden Ehrenreich.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, first of all, you would not be able to breathe under there.
No.
That is like a several 100-pound
Let
bear.
alone speak and have it be audible.
No, you are being crushed. You would die. Someone needs to get that bear off of you as soon as possible.
Yeah. The other thing I will say is I think the visual nature of it was good, but like with a lot of CGI characters in movies, this thing did not interact with the real world. At the beginning of the movie, when we see it for the first time and it's banging its head on a tree, it's very funny, but it's not actually affecting the tree. Nothing is happening as a result of him doing this, or her doing this, excuse me. So those elements take me out of, I don't know, the realism, quote unquote, of the movie. But you know, it's a low budget movie. What do you expect? This isn't fucking Jurassic Park here.
No, I don't need this to be an animatronic bear. I don't need it to be a real bear. It can be completely fake. No one can make any claims that animals were harmed in the making of this film. The only live animal is Rosette, the little dog. And I was wrong, Trent. Every time they brought up that dog, I said, the dog's going to get eaten by the bear.
You called it a couple of times, and I agreed with you that, oh God, that dog is going to get eaten by that bear.
Because it's that kind of movie. You just assume. In Deep Blue Sea, we introduced a parrot. Did that parrot make it to the end of the movie? It did not, Trent.
Yeah.
The shark got the bird. So logic dictates you introduce this tiny little dog, and the guy doesn't really like the dog.
Yeah, the
and I've
white
seen
little
enough of
floofy
these.
dog that I don't really know why people have, fashion dogs like that, but whatever.
But
a dog is a dog.
But the assumption is the dog won't make it to the end of the movie because that never happens. It always gets taken by whatever is doing the attacking. But I was pleased to know that I was wrong. They didn't lean into that cliche. The dog is just fine, makes it to the end of the movie, and then the little kid gets a
new
dog.
owner, yeah.
Yeah, it's great for this pretty little dog. But my God, does that look like a high-maintenance little beast.
Yeah, it's a very pretty dog.
It's very pretty, but it's very high maintenance.
That's like a show dog.
That is a show dog.
Yeah.
And of course, there's like a tiny subplot that this guy was adopting a dog for a
lab.
man,
Yeah.
a lab, something, man's best friend. And he ended up with this tiny little dog, and he doesn't really know how it happened.
Yeah, they're setting up a couple of different subplots, like you said, of him on the phone talking with the dog agency.
The dog agency, you know?
Sure. Saying, I expected a lab, this kind of a dog, but you sent me this thing and said, in the 1980s, can you buy a dog via catalog? You could buy everything else by catalog back in those days.
I mean, he did have a brochure, and he seemed very confused about his purchase. So I'm going to go ahead and say yes. But then, of course, by the end of the movie, he realizes he kind of loves that dog.
Yeah. And I'm thinking about this more. The other thing I really wish that this movie was more of a time capsule of the 1980s. Did this at all look like the 1980s?
Not really.
It got the cars, it got the fashion to a point.
Well, the fashion was broad 1980s.
Yeah.
I think there is a fine balance you have to strike, because if you go cliche 80s, if you put everybody in neon, it suddenly becomes a parody of itself, and it's too far. It's a cliche of what an 80s movie should look like.
Mm-hmm.
This is probably actually pretty accurate. There's a guy in a jersey. There's another guy in just sort of a blue jacket.
What's his name was in all denim.
Yeah.
And O'Shea Jackson Jr. was having the jersey on, and he was complaining about his jersey.
Ray Liotta has long hair and a leather jacket and those kind
Sure.
of yellow sunglasses.
Fine.
It's all very subtle, the way this is 1980s in the fashion. The way they play up the 80s is the soundtrack. It's very synth pop. It's fun. It's breezy. It's not a complicated score. That's the stuff that they're playing up. They don't really linger. It feels like this movie could have been made now. Everybody looks like this movie could just be taking place now as much as it is in the 1980s.
Yeah, nothing here was specifically 80s except for the vehicles and really just a lack of technology. Those are the things that I always point out. It's fashion, it's technology when it comes to being in a period piece. And this is anything but a period piece. You're not staring at the movie saying, oh my God, it's the 1980s. But to be honest, I'm kind of stretching here for things to talk about Cocaine Bear, so I just want to mention a few different things that made me laugh, because hey, this is a comedy. It's really hard to cover comedies for us, so here you go. Going back to what I said about the kids being my favorite thing, couple of lines that the kids say just made me laugh incessantly. When the girl is like looking at the sign saying, hey, this sign looks like these deer are doing it or something. The boy is off carving initials into a tree, and the girl says, what are you doing over there? He says, marking our territory. You can't shit out here. I'm not shitting. Why would, I don't know. Just something about that really tickled me. And I don't know, maybe it's just kids swearing that is funny, but yeah, it just really got to me.
I also liked in that scene where they see the bear and the boy yells, did it do the cocaine?
Yeah, did it do the cocaine? And another one from this kid, it's after the Greenpeace type guy is up in the tree and the bear gets him and Kerry Russell rescues the kid and they're running away. And they stop and they start talking. The kid says, did you hear him scream? He's so dead. And he said something after that you probably remember.
Something to the effect of, that's something that stays with a man the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Which is only funny because he's like 8 years old.
Yeah. And I guess that's just the point. Kids doing things like an adult would, kids saying things that an adult would, and experiencing things that no kid should. The last thing that just, man, how many severed limbs and appendages did we have in the entire movie?
Several.
We had at least 3 severed legs, and we had 2 severed fingers plus 1 severed hand.
And a head.
And a head, excuse me.
And then, of course, Ray Liotta's guts get ripped out and eaten by a bear. It's really gruesome, but in a borderline funny kind of way.
It's pretty funny, especially my favorite little gag in the movie is when the tree hugger guy has his legs severed, it's laying on the ground, and it's got cocaine on it, and the bear just does a line off of the leg. Seriously, it's my favorite part of the movie.
Well, I'll just touch on one more thing before we wrap this up. As we mentioned in the intro, this is based on a real story, and you were doing a little reading about this incident, but they do actually explore some of that in the movie. They show real news footage of Tom Brokaw,
South Dakota's own,
reporting on the story that in some town in Tennessee, bags were falling from the sky, and this guy fell to his death. So the opening sequence with Matthew Rhys, that happened. He was in the plane, he fell out, and his chute didn't open.
And I assume they cannot confirm nor deny the existence of him doing karate.
I think that was probably a character choice of somebody who's like, if I were on cocaine, what would I do? So they do show that in the movie, and you were reading that there was, in fact, a cocaine bear.
Yes, there was.
However, the difference is the bear consumed a lot of cocaine and promptly died. They found a dead bear.
Yeah, the bear died almost immediately after consuming about $3 million worth of cocaine. And in 1980s money, that's a whole fuckload now. But I think the funniest thing that comes out of that real story, Betsy, and I know you would agree with this, the officials working on the case of the cocaine that comes from heaven, those guys actually named the bear who died Pablo Escobar.
Perfect. No notes.
Yeah, just like with Cocaine Bear, the movie, what else do you name that bear who died? But Betsy, that is really all I had to talk about Cocaine Bear here. I did enjoy the movie. I don't know when or if I'm ever going to watch the movie again. I had a good time. I know you had a really good time too. But I will say it very much fits our theme of when animals attack.
Really, the only other place this could have gone is if we did a series of drug-related movies. And
Yeah.
we've kind of worked through a lot of those already.
We have, but there's a lot more. Like, I've never seen the movie Blow.
But is that any good? I don't know. Time will tell if we ever visit it. But until then, we'd love to hear what you think about Cocaine Bear or any of our other animal attack movies. You can send your thoughts to neverseenitpod@gmail.com. Speaking of segues,
The impossible
the
pivot.
impossible pivot from animal attack movies back to the Oscar conversation, because we do have a couple of emails here about the Oscars. Since it's today, it's this evening, the actual ceremony is happening. We want to get through all of these so that we can wipe the slate clean and we won't be talking about Oscars anymore this year.
Until we get more emails from you guys talking about Oscar movies, and yes, we will read them as well. But this is about as clean of a break as we can have.
So we got an email from Dr. David. He's a new listener who reached out a couple of weeks ago, and he sent us an email called Top 10 Oscar-Nominated Films. He begins, "Hi guys, I wouldn't regard the 10 Oscar-nominated films as the top 10 movies of the year. They rarely are, let's be real.
Yeah, but then again, who's to say what the top movies are? This is Oscar stuff and not your favorite movies."
He says F1, Begonia, Marty Supreme, and Sinners would fill my bottom 4 slots. I would replace them with A House of Dynamite, Nouvelle Vague, No Other Choice, and It Was Just an Accident. Now, I have heard some really great things about No Other Choice and It Was Just an Accident.
Yeah.
And you actually watched A House of Dynamite recently.
I did watch House of Dynamite, and guys, that movie made me feel some things. It made me feel a whole lot of anxiety and fear. I think it was very well done. I don't know if it really deserves to be up in the upper echelons of Oscar-nominated movies, though, but it certainly made me think.
And I didn't watch that one with you, so I don't
Yeah.
have an opinion.
Yeah, you had, I think, rehearsal that night, and I know I wanted to watch the movie because the topic really fascinates me. It's a fictional tale, obviously, about nukes being fired at the US and what 3 different groups of people, how they respond. It's one group of people who work up at some fucking base in Alaska who monitor like incoming threats. Another group is like different groups of people working in offices in Washington and how they're reacting. And the final group is actually the president and the people following him around and how he is reacting to it. It's an interesting way of constructing a movie, but I do feel like it is a really well-made movie. It's Catherine Bigelow's movie that got put out on Netflix last year. So I would recommend that you do watch it. If for nothing else, if you are interested in the topic of, I don't know, nuclear annihilation, you know, a happy topic like that.
Well, the last movie he mentions here is Nouvelle Vague, which is the second movie that Richard Linklater did this year, the other one being Blue Moon. And both of those movies got nominated for comedy at the Golden Globes. So that was kind of a wild thing because it's like, when did he have time to put out 2 movies this year?
I don't even know what Nouvelle Vague is.
It's about French New Wave movies and the making of the movie Breathless. So very... very niche. You have to really be into movies to understand any of what I just said.
I'm shaking my head. No, that is not for me.
I wouldn't expect it to be, but that's okay. He finishes the email with his top 6 movies of the Best Picture nominees. At number 6, Train Dreams, 4 stars. At number 5, Frankenstein, 4 stars. At number 4, The Secret Agent, also 4 stars. At number 3, Sentimental Value, 4.5. Hamnet, 4.5, and number 1, all in caps, One Battle After Another, 4.5 stars. So kind of a top tier, a secondary tier, and then the bottom 4. Because you know what? Something has to go at the bottom of the pack, and we have it in common. If you haven't listened to our special yet, F1 is in the bottom of the pack for both of us.
Yeah, we would definitely agree with your assessment of F1, and I would agree with your Marty Supreme assessment.
But if you want to hear all of our thoughts and our official rankings, go and listen to the whole episode.
Yeah, thanks, Dr. David.
And we got our latest update from our superfan Stephanie as she's working through the Best Picture nominees. Next up, she watched One Battle After Another. This was a movie where I said several times, what the fuck is this?
Yeah.
Some of it is very fun. Some of it is way too over the top. Some of it is sad, or at least I think trying to be sad. Sean Penn is so icky. Leonardo DiCaprio is very funny and endearing. Benicio del Toro is great. Side note, my daughter has been taking Taekwondo and loves it. Chase Infinity was wonderful. Although Teyana Taylor did a good job in her role, I really struggled with the character of Perfidia. She is definitely a complicated lady.
Yeah, and I think the actress who played her does it very, very well, which is why she's kind of way up there for winning an Oscar this year. And by the time this episode is out, or the time that you're listening to this, maybe you already know.
She continues, I do think I liked this movie, but it just didn't wow me like it did other people.
Yeah, that's one where if it doesn't grab you right away, you might be very indifferent about it.
Now, this is going to only make sense if you listened to our episode from that movie.
Out of context.
Out of context. I like Trent's butt plug theory. We will let you go back and listen to our One Battle After Another episode to figure out what the heck he's talking about.
Or just go watch the movie and you'll know.
The action is very good and it was definitely compelling. I loved the humor once you get into it. However, I disagree with you about the runtime. This movie was way too long. I had to watch it in 3 chunks to get through it. The problem is that what I would cut is the entire beginning. Once Willa is on screen, the movie cooks. The runtime ceases to be something I think about. It is action and fun. I just did not like the beginning. It felt too forced. Perfidia is a shitty person. Lockjaw is a shitty person. The whole rebellion seems so over the top, but at the same time very serious. Which is it? Is this a serious issue that is happening here and now? Or is this a comedy where people are named Lockjaw? But if you cut the beginning, would you really appreciate the rest of the film? I don't know.
Yeah, and maybe that's because you're not really getting into the politics of what the director and the writer here are really trying to put on screen. If you're not paying attention to what this possible future could be, then maybe it's just going to fly over the top of your head. I don't know.
And without the prologue, the rest of the movie doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and if you're watching a movie like this in chunks, you can't really have it get absorbed into you. And I know, Stephanie, you're busy. You got a kid, you got a family to really figure out.
It's a long movie.
It's a long movie. I totally get it. Some people just can't watch movies like this. And I don't blame you for having the feelings that you do.
She finishes the email. Like I said, I liked this movie. I think all of the nominations are deserved. However, this is not my favorite film of the year. And then we got a second email from Stephanie about Hamnet. In this one, she says, I absolutely loved this movie. Hamlet is my favorite Shakespeare play. I am by no means a Shakespeare scholar, but I have seen and read many plays. I know that this is not completely historically accurate, but who cares? It was deeply moving and beautifully shot.
Yeah, that was our feeling as well. Just because you don't know anything about Hamlet like I didn't, doesn't mean that you're not going to have a good time watching the movie. And you know something about Hamlet, Betsy and Stephanie, so that neither helped or hindered you.
I don't know if describing it as a good time is quite the way I would use it for Hamnet.
Hey, it's a good movie. That's all I can say.
She continues, Jessie Buckley is phenomenal.
Oh, yeah.
Paul Mescal is great. That little boy is so good. The directing, cinematography, screenplay are very good. This movie hit me very hard. I had a very difficult childbirth. If we were in the time period of this film, my daughter and I both would have died. So that scene was brutal, but very well done. Then as a parent, I cannot even fucking imagine how horrible it would be to have a child that sick and then to have another child die. Finally, as a human, to see these people go through the deep grief and then heal through art was so moving.
Yeah, you being a parent, I think you look at this movie very differently than what we would. I came at it with the eyes of somebody who had lost a friend tragically and very suddenly.
Or anybody in your life who dies very suddenly. She finishes the email touching on something we discussed in the episode and that a lot of people are talking about online, about this movie being emotionally manipulative. She says, so do I feel emotionally manipulated? Yes. If art does not affect you emotionally, then why are we here? Now, you know I love a comedy and you know I love an action movie, but those movies are manipulating you to feel joy and excitement. This is manipulating you to feel grief and sadness. But if you watch it to the end, you will feel forgiveness, understanding, and love. Love you guys from Superfan Stephanie.
Stephanie, I think that is the perfect way to frame that argument. All art is affecting you in some way. All you are your emotions. All you can express are your emotions, whatever they may be. You think about emotions and you think, oh, I'm sad, I'm crying, I'm angry, whatever. No, emotions are everything, positive and negative, and neutral.
The movie wants you to feel something, literally anything. Even Cocaine Bear made Trent feel something.
Yeah.
It made him feel like it wasn't the movie he thought it was going to be. That's okay. But thank you again to Dr. David and to Stephanie for sending us those emails. Listen, we said we weren't going to do any more Oscar talk, but if you guys still have feelings, especially after the Oscars happen, we are in the past. We haven't watched the Oscars yet. We don't know what is going to happen tonight at the ceremony. Something shocking could go down. If you would like to send us your reaction to that or any really hot takes from the night, send us those thoughts to neverseenitpod@gmail.com. You could also message us on any of our social media platforms. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky. We'll see the message if you send it to us on those.
Also, we don't say it enough, but we're also on YouTube and TikTok. All of our full episodes are out on YouTube. You can throw it on your TV and listen to us while you vacuum your house or whatever people do on YouTube.
If, as the song in Cocaine Bear says, you just can't get enough of listening to us. That's a paraphrase, but you get what I'm going for.
Thank you, Betsy.
You can also go to patreon.com/neverseenitpod, and we have 2 full years of episodes over there. $5 a month gets you all of that extra content. So that's going to do it for this episode, but the animal attacks do not stop. They just keep happening, Trent. What animal attack will be happening next week?
Well, Betsy, next week we're going to be attacked by alligators because we're going to be covering Lake Placid, another 90s classic.
So come back next week for that episode. Until then, my name is Betsy.
My name is Trent.
We'll see you later.